Ladies and gentlemen, in response to being the only female speaker, I can tell you I can hold my own very well. Thank you very much for inviting us here. First of all, I'd like to pay my tribute to Justice Lakshman and to Dr. Panchuria and to my dear friend Mr. Jagmohan Singh and to the NRI Trust, because I think the one thing the NRI Trust does is it brings together a lot of NRIs from across the world and brings them home. I always say when I come to India, I'm coming home. I've been in the UK all my life for 9 months, but when I enter the land of India, I just feel, just with the smells and the sounds, that I've actually come back home. I was born here, so I do feel that I have a deep connection with India. And in being part of today's discussion, one of the things many of the speakers have raised the progress of India and also the difficulties by Mr. Jaginder Singh. I would like to say that this is the difficulties NRIs have. It is the many mixed messages of do you invest, don't you invest, do you come, don't you come, is it safe, is it not safe? And I think it was another thing I think Mr. Singh said was that the embassies aren't always helpful. I think in our own case, the British High Commission in the UK has really worked quite hard to try and ensure that Indians or British people of Indian origin are getting quite a detailed effect of what goes on in India. But when we come here, we also need very much the support of the Indian government and of all the institutions that go with investment in India. And I would urge India to look at beyond the big multinationals in the corporate sector and to please concentrate on ensuring that small to medium-sized businesses actually have a fair chance of being able to come and invest and be supported in India. We know of many, many businesses, and most countries, their backbone of their business sector is on small and medium-sized businesses. And yet, they seem to be the ones that face the greatest difficulties when they come to a country like India. And I would urge the Indian government and all those that are involved with the business sector to ensure that small and medium-sized businesses have as equal a chance as those institutions and businesses that are multinational, multi-corporate. Moving on, I think the other thing, it was what Justice Lakshman said. It was about the investment in health and education to India. Again, it would be wonderful for us to be able to do so, but we do have an enormous number of barriers. I'm in the education sector, and the one thing I'm trying very hard to do is to work with educational institutions within India to do greater partnership work with British universities, with British colleges. And, you know, it is something that we will have to do. The world is very small now. It is much more globalized. We are very interdependent on each other. And one of the things that we need to recognize is that education has moved on from just college class-based education. It is far more virtual, far more interactive. And we have to recognize, particularly in Great Britain, that we need desperately the skills and the education that India produces. And for that, we need to have greater collaboration within our further education and higher education sector. I'm keen that whilst we parliamentarians of Indian origin are very proud of the progress India has made, India has got great opportunity to interact much far greater with parliamentarians of Indian origin across the world. And I think this is an area that India has underutilized. And I feel that if India was to ensure that parliamentarians are having greater engagement, particularly from Indian origins, you will find that India's interest will be at the heart of what goes on in those particular countries. In Britain today, we are still very underrepresented by the number of people from Indian origin. We are economically hugely successful. Educationally, we are hugely successful. The sad problem, of course, is that whilst we're busy getting educated and making huge amounts of money, we do not actually contribute very much to the political classes of of Great Britain. Therefore, we have very little to contribute when it comes to our relationship with what goes on economically, educationally, environmentally with India. So I think there are a number of things that need to be done, and the NRI Institute can be a lead in those, as the NRI Institute has the experience and the ability to be able to bring across many, many people of non-resident Indian origin to come and speak and engage with Indians in India. We talked about marriages, and Punjab has a great difficulty with marriages. Can I also say I led in the House of Lords on the divorce marriage issue? And I would also like to say that whilst the onus is on people coming into this country to find out much more about what goes on in foreign lands, I would suggest humbly to you also that it is also on you, the Indian community, to recognise that when you are doing marriages, it is for the right reasons and not just always often to satisfy family commitments, family relationships or economic reasons. We have brought laws in. We hope they will be strengthened by the commitment of India to partake in constructing those laws to be stronger. But it is a partnership, and partnerships can only work if partnerships are equal, and both parties also contribute fully to it. As a person of Indian origin, I am a businesswoman first, and I am a politician of a country that leads very much in what happens in the world. And one of the things that we want to be able to do is ensure that our historical ties with India are remaining firm and founded. And whilst India progresses wonderfully well, and it makes Indians abroad very, very proud of what's going on in India, we feel incredibly confident because of what has happened in India. We can now say quite proudly that India is one of the leading countries of the 21st century. We would also like India to make it as equally easy for us to come here and be part of the country here. And I know you say that, we are most welcoming when we come here. I think you will find often the case is that it is also quite difficult